They say Atlantis was just a myth. But what if I told you there's a real city, an actual place, buried under the waves that disappeared in just one night? No warning, no survivors, just gone. We've all heard the legend of Atlantis, this perfect, utopian city that supposedly sank beneath the ocean. But here's the twist. Historians have uncovered shocking evidence that suggests a real ancient city might match that story almost too perfectly. And unlike Atlantis, this city actually existed, thrived, and then, just like that, it vanished. Today, we're diving into the mystery of that city, the one that could be the true Atlantis. And trust me, the story is going to blow your mind. What caused a civilization to vanish overnight? Was it nature, a forgotten war, or something even darker? The story starts in North Africa, but not where you think. We're not talking about Egypt, the pyramids, or the Nile. We're heading west, way west, to a forgotten corner of the world where the Sahara meets the Atlantic Ocean. Tucked away in modern-day Mauritania is something called the Richat Structure. If you've never heard of it, that's not your fault. Most people haven't. But from space, it looks like a bullseye carved into the earth. Concentric rings, just like Plato described Atlantis over 2,000 years ago. Here's the kicker. Plato's description of Atlantis? It wasn't just a random fairy tale. It had detail, specific shapes, measurements, layouts, even colors. A city built in perfect circles. 3 rings of water, 3 rings of land. A central island in the middle. Sound familiar? That's exactly what the Richat structure looks like. But it gets crazier. For centuries, people thought Plato's story was just allegory, an ancient philosopher using fiction to teach lessons. But what if it wasn't? What if he was writing down real history that had been passed down for generations? A story so old that by the time it reached him, it sounded like a myth? The Richat structure, also called the Eye of the Sahara, is huge. We're talking about 25 miles across. That's massive. It's not under the ocean now, sure, but here's where things get weird. Ancient maps from before satellites, some dating back to the 1500s, actually show a mysterious circular city in West Africa, right where the Richat structure is. How did they know? Coincidence? Or did they know something we don't? Now let's zoom out a bit. Let's talk about Plato's version of Atlantis. According to him, Atlantis was a naval power located beyond the Pillars of Hercules, what we now call the Strait of Gibraltar. The Richat structure fits that bill. It's far enough west of Egypt to be considered beyond those pillars. And the scale? Spot on. The diameter of the rings described by Plato almost perfectly matches the Richat structure's measurements, when adjusted for ancient units of length. But here's the real mind-bender. Plato wrote that Atlantis was destroyed in a single day and night of misfortune. A cataclysm. Something wiped out the entire civilization. And archaeologists have found evidence of a massive flood layer near the Richat. Sediment, debris, signs of ancient water erosion in a place that's now completely dry. So what the hell happened? Well, some scientists believe that thousands of years ago, the Sahara wasn't a desert at all. It was green, lush, rivers, lakes, even forests. There's hard evidence that parts of the Sahara were once covered in vegetation, and people actually lived there. We're talking about the African humid period, a time when the climate was drastically different. And then, the rain stopped, the rivers dried, the lakes evaporated, and the desert swallowed everything. Now, imagine a thriving city built in the middle of that once green Sahara, a circular marvel of engineering, surrounded by canals, flowing water, maybe even palm trees. Atlantis? Or something better? But then something changed, fast. A sudden shift in climate, a tectonic upheaval, a massive earthquake. The earth cracked, water surged, and everything was buried. According to some geologists, parts of Mauritania show signs of ancient tidal waves. Yes, tsunamis that reached miles inland. This wasn't just a dry death. It was violent. And get this, archaeological digs in nearby regions have unearthed tools, pottery, and structures that date back over 10,000 years. Long before the Egyptian pyramids. Long before Mesopotamia. Who were these people? How advanced were they? The problem is, almost no one is talking about this. Why? Because it challenges the standard story. If this city was Atlantis or even a sister civilization, then everything we know about the timeline of human civilization shifts. It means there was a complex, possibly urban culture thriving in Africa while the rest of the world was supposedly still figuring out farming. And that's not convenient. That's not in the textbooks. But let's not stop there. Let's dig deeper. Why was this city so special in the first place? According to Plato, Atlantis wasn't just a place, it was a powerhouse. A civilization with advanced engineering, powerful armies, and massive wealth. He talks about their buildings being lined with metals we can barely trace today, like orichalcum, a red gold alloy that was said to shine like fire. Here's something wild. In 2015, divers exploring a sunken ship near Sicily discovered ingots of what they believe is orichalcum. Could that be linked to this lost civilization? Or at the very least, proof that ancient metallurgy was far more advanced than we thought? And then there's the political part of the story. Plato said that Atlantis became corrupt, that the very thing that made them strong power, wealth, pride also made them arrogant. They turned against the gods, against nature, against other nations. And that's when the catastrophe came, almost like divine punishment. Whether or not you believe in that, history shows a pattern. Civilizations that rise too fast and too arrogantly tend to collapse hard. Rome, the Mayans, the Indus Valley, same story. So what was the Richat city's fatal flaw? Let's look at the terrain. Geologically, the eye of the Sahara was shaped by a mix of erosion and uplift. That means pressure from underground could have caused sudden collapses. Combined with seismic activity, it's possible the ground literally opened up. Or maybe water, trapped underground, surged upward like a tsunami from below. That would explain the flood layers. And then there's the theory of a cosmic impact. That's right, a meteor strike. Scientists believe that around 12,000 years ago, a comet might have shattered over North America, triggering global climate chaos. The Younger Dryas impact hypothesis suggests that this event caused wildfires, floods, and a rapid cooling period. Entire ecosystems collapsed. If a meteor fragment hit near the Sahara, well, that would explain a lot. But if this city really existed, where are the bodies? The ruins? The temples? Why haven't we found clear-cut proof? Because time is a savage eraser. Wind, sand, heat, erosion over thousands of years. If a wooden structure is buried under 100 feet of sand for 10,000 years, good luck finding it. And if the survivors, if there were any, migrated, they may have carried their stories elsewhere. Maybe to Egypt, maybe to South America. Maybe that's why flood myths exist all over the world, from the Bible to the Sumerians to Native American tribes. Stories of a great flood, a lost civilization, a sunken world. What if they're all talking about the same thing? Now let's introduce a twist, something you're probably not expecting. What if Atlantis isn't the only one? That's right. Multiple ancient cities have gone missing in similar ways. Dvarka in India, Yanaguni in Japan, Heraclean off the coast of Egypt, all swallowed by water, all forgotten, all once considered myths until someone found the evidence. So maybe Atlantis was real. Maybe it was just one of many. Or maybe the Richat Structure isn't Atlantis but a copy, a colony, an outpost of something even bigger. Some researchers believe ancient people mapped the world far earlier than we thought. that they traveled, that they shared knowledge across oceans. Sound impossible? The Great Pyramid of Giza is aligned with shocking precision to true north. How did they do that without satellites? The Mayans tracked planets with insane accuracy. The ancient Sumerians recorded complex math thousands of years before modern Europe. We keep underestimating the past because we think progress only moves in one direction. But maybe the past was smarter than we think. Maybe the Richat city wasn't a myth. Maybe it was a memory, buried under sand, lost to time, whispered through stories and myths that we call legends because we can't handle the truth. And here's the part that really messes with your head. What if the next Atlantis is us? Think about it. Rising sea levels, climate change, coastal cities sitting at the edge of rising tides. We're building our own utopias next to oceans, just like Atlantis, just like the Richat city. If something went wrong, if nature decided to fight back again, how long would it take for our story to be buried too? One day, one night, maybe Plato wasn't warning us about the past. Maybe he was warning us about the future. Watch the next video on screen now. It's even crazier.